part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Support for Podcast 616 is brought to you by Newark and Zanesville AutoBody. Safe, reliable collision repairs are their business. Local, family-run, and veteran-owned business serving Newark, Ohio, and Zanesville, Ohio, and surrounding areas. And guess what? They work with all insurance providers to make your experience hassle-free. Plus, ask about their special discounts for U.S. military veterans. Visit them today at AutoBodyOfNewark.com and AutoBodyOfZanesville.com to get your repair started. Their iCar Gold Class team of skilled collision repair technicians will make your vehicle like new again. Welcome back, everybody, to Podcast 616, the official podcast of Earth 616. I am your host, Damon Royster, and today we are continuing our discussion of the epic three-part finale of X-Men 97. We're on part 2, which is episode 9, Tolerance is Extinction, part 2, aka With My Mind on My Weather and My Weather on My Mind. Yes, we're going to talk about that line. Today I'm joined, you know what, you guys, this episode's for the girls, and I got my sisters on the line. I like to call this a gays-only episode. Could not imagine anyone else on this episode because there's a lot. I have a lot of feelings. My first guest, third time on the pod. They are a Chicago-based comedian. You've heard them talk about Echo, and they've already talked about X-Men: Days of Future Past. Here to talk about Days of Future Present. Please welcome to your ears, Devin Henderson.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
How are we?
I'm good. Devin, are you enjoying X-Men 97?
I'm in love with X-Men 97. As you know, and listeners of the pod will remember, I'm a huge Marvel comic fan. So kind of a little elitist in that realm. But the X-Men are the best. And this is, I feel, the best the X-Men have ever been represented outside of the comics.
Yes. 100% yes. A hard yes.
Yes.
Our second guest, near and dear to Podcast 616 hearts, at times possibly the only listener to the podcast that I've known who has identified themselves as a listener to the podcast, and also the first guest we ever had, pretty famously. We started with WandaVision, and this guest, you already know, famously a chef, famously a firefighter, famously a cinnamon bun enthusiast. Please welcome to your ears the lovely and delightful Isaac Snyder. Hello.
Hi, sisters.
Thank you for being brave enough to use your real voice.
Of course, my real voice.
How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you so much for having me back. I'm so happy to be here. You know, it's like a second home, if you will.
You fit right in. And yeah, of course, I would love to have you. I was like, well, I want to talk to Isaac about this episode, or also just X-Men 97 in general. And I think this is killing two birds with one stone, because I do want your honest opinion, and I also needed someone to be on this podcast. So I think it all evens out. Much like the insides of Wolverine. We'll get to that. Okay, my girls. We are in part 2, right in the middle, in the thick of it. Homegirl Magneto has just flipped the switch on all of power, because that's what drama bitches do. We get this this montage thing in the beginning of, Magneto is in his old costume, which is a shame. I wish he was still in that Speedo for the whole episode. Bastion's carrying his mom. Professor dusts off his old wheelchair. Forge and Storm are pretending that they didn't just fuck in the rain. And Roberto and Jubilee are running down the street. So that's just the setup. Devin Henderson, going to you. You are nodding. You are vibing. Where is your stress level at as we begin this episode?
When Magneto turns the lights off on the world, that shit, first of all, was quite literally the biggest power move. I mean, I did not anticipate that happening. And also the idea that at any moment he could just be like, you know what? I'm going to take 30 seconds to get to the top of the world. And then
so quick.
Yeah. My stress level coming out of that first episode was high, but nowhere near as it was whenever I finished this episode. I was like, damn, they're really swinging for the fences, huh?
Unreal.
Woo!
Isaac Snyder, famously pro Magneto. How are you feeling that he shut the power off?
Absolutely. Hashtag Magneto was right. Um, I
Let's get
love
political.
hashtag, come on. Um, it was kind of crazy to think about because the way that he was able to do that was he took like the polar magnetism of the world
Mhm.
and just said no.
Yeah,
And
go
that
away.
no, like he said, go away, that's done.
Hmm.
And that was just so insane to me, which is why, like, when people are like talking about Omega level mutants, I'm like, absolutely Magneto is up there. Like,
Oh yeah.
that is probably the strong. Imagine Cyclops doing that. He could never,
Oh my
okay?
God.
Well, maybe if he squinted really hard
Really
into
hard.
into the North Pole. And also, we being me love that it came from grief and trauma, and that's how trauma helps you slay, mama. And I've always said that.
Famously.
Famously, y'all know.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I've
We
seen
have
your
it on
lower
a
back tattoo.
t-shirt.
Yes, thank you. How? That's for the after show. Um, Devin Henderson, the resurrection. I'm doing a motion with my hands. The resurrection of Asteroid M. Did we like seeing her back? Does it? Why does it have to be an asteroid? I guess that's my
This
question.
is okay. I will say, as a comic book fan, that one of the tropes that happens a lot in X-Men is like them finding a place to live that is
Hmm.
typically like an abandoned rock of some sort, whether it's an island, whether it's the asteroid. I didn't know that that's what he was doing at first. I don't know what I thought he was doing. I thought he was making hills or something. And then later in this episode, where we see it come out of the sky, I was like, oh, that's fucking fucked. That shit would make me shit my pants in
Oh
real
yeah,
time. Like just hovering. Insane.
just hovering. And I love the detail that scene where like it's like descending from the sky, and like I don't know much about weather, and I think so. Give me grace, but does that create the lightning and the thunder when like that rock is entering the atmosphere? Like it's just kind of like a self-made, because he can't do that. He can't make lightning happen, right? Well, I know he can't, but like, is it the rock entering the atmosphere that's causing that little dramatic storm thing that's happening?
It must be. I mean, I guess. I mean, that level of, yeah, I don't know what a bunch of like magnetic charge does to the atmosphere, but,
Yeah, Isaac
or
is
does magnets
shaking his head
charge?
as well.
I
Isaac,
I famously do not know.
okay,
I wish that I had a better answer for you. I think the
it's really
animators
embarrassing,
were like,
guys.
want to know what would look really cool? What if we added some lightning? I don't know.
Mhm.
Like, that could be fun, right?
Oh, and it
And
definitely
we
worked.
we as the audience were like, lightning from an asteroid entering the atmosphere. I don't necessarily think anyone thought people were going to talk about that, but I love that.
Yes. People probably didn't think we would talk about an asteroid entering the atmosphere, but we are going to talk about Professor X entering the atmosphere of Scott Summers. Um,
Oh,
Scott, oh yeah, Isaac, the transitions have been amazing lately.
you're doing it. You're going, baby.
Thank you. Yeah, I just woke up today. I was like, let's go for it.
Ah!
Scott Summers is not happy to see Professor X. He is mad. Devin Henderson, I think you've really been following this journey of Cyclops and Professor X. How are they doing? Are the boys going to be boying again?
It's really rough because they both suck so hard that when they're in a room together, they're really kind of outdoing each other with like sort of self-imposed importance.
Mhm.
One, how Jean is ever in a room with them alone, I don't know, because it would drive me insane. Scott,
Yeah, she could read their minds too. It's like double.
no breaks,
Oh my
zero breaks
God.
for our girl Jean. Like, first of all, I'm gonna say it. Xavier's wrong all the time. Almost
Ooh.
every decision he makes is bad and wrong. And he's always being like, "Don't punish these people around me. This was my mistake." I'm like, then punish him. Like, what?
Hmm.
What are we doing?
Right.
One and two. Scott just sucks. I know a lot of people hate Scott. It's like kind of not fun to pile on. But I
But
mean, he sucks, dude. He
Yeah.
sucks. Oh, I hate him.
Yeah. I do like what this series did for Scott, though. Like, I
Oh
thought
yeah,
that there
yeah,
were
yeah.
some very redeeming moments for him in
yeah,
this series that, we never got in like the Fox movies. Like, we never had our Cyclops moment in the Fox movies. So, like,
no.
seeing it coming into this new Disney era and seeing that they're like, hey, Scott Summers is the leader of the X-Men.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know, that's kind of sexy. Like,
It is. It's
Thank
nice.
you, Isaac. Thank you, Isaac. I'm like,
yeah, Damon,
tell
us about that.
about, I feel like a Cyclops because I'm the one person who likes him. The only one.
It's James
I mean-
Marston. That's what it is, right?
I mean, I'll never tell.
Daddy.
I love a tiny daddy and James Marston. But I would agree. Yeah, I think Devin, I mean, this, you did not come on this podcast for therapy, and who would? But I will say, I think you have residual resentment for Cyclops, and you're letting it into this X-Men 97, which, to Isaac's point, there is a concerted effort to lower his douche level.
And let me just clarify. One, Isaac, I can't agree more. This series shows you that Cyclops, that's in the, like, he's a leader. He's really good at what he does. He is like, I do like him for those reasons.
Mhm.
I do not like sort of like the stickler for the rules and kind of like I'm the dad of everybody sort of vibes he gives off.
Well, he's dad to one person.
Well, yeah, and we know how that turned out.
He came back.
Next baby.
Yeah, but I will say I am not horny for Scott at all. He can kick rocks as far as I'm concerned. He can get out of here.
That's totally fair. The moment that like really sold me in this series was when he jumped out of the plane and he used his visors to like get down to the ground. I was like, oh, that is actually like a very perfect way to show his like power set and to also make it like very practical, but also just like introduce to the audience like, hey, this is not just pew pew Scott Summers anymore. This is like, we're showing you the leader of the X-Men. And I could appreciate it. I could appreciate him for that.
Yes. Pew pew be damned. We also, and he was not happy for Professor X. I just wrote in my notes, no forgiveness. He was like,
No.
Fuck you. I'm mad at you for being your child soldier. Miss Rogue wakes up and she's like, Remy, no way, he's dead. That's my Rogue impression.
I'm sorry.
Am
I wrong?
No, because in your defense, I can't quite place where her accent's from. It sounds almost more like just sort of like fun terms, you like endearing terms of endearments she just throws around. Like when she said sugar in this, she's like, you're sugar, you go, whatever. I'm like, where are you from?
Yeah.
What?
It's Louisiana, right?
Probably. I don't know. I mean, Remy is so placeable because being a Cajun man is his whole identity, but Rogue, you're just like, oh, general Southern, but also like old timey slang.
And it's hard because it's the same actress from the original cartoon, and she has aged beautifully, but her voice, it made it easier to swallow the Rogue Magneto age difference because like they sound like they're the same age.
It's fair.
Yeah,
I'll say that. So she wakes up and she's like, what the fuck's happening? We start putting things together that we are going to split up into two teams, blue team, gold team. One to take out Bastion and one to persuade Magneto to give us our power back. But then I believe Magneto just shows up, right? This is when the asteroid comes in.
Yeah.
Isaac Snyder, how do you feel about Rogue and Sunspot's choice to go with Magneto? You famously like to switch sides in arguments.
Is that a first joke?
Is that And you know what? It is, because we can make those jokes here because everyone on this call gets what that is.
Absolutely. Sisters.
The girls.
Sisters. The girls. Their decision to go with Magneto, it made sense to me in that moment. Like, especially with Rogue. Sunspot, it was kind of a little bit more of a stretch for me. Like, I definitely understood his whole like wanting to feel this sort of acceptance. His whole like character arc is that he's not like accepted by anything. And
Yeah.
and so I kind of understand the whole like switcheroo for him a little bit. I thought that it was kind of a little silly because it was like, oh, we're switching sides. And then like 10 minutes later, it's like, that didn't mean anything. Like it was just kind of like this weird declaration for them to be like, we're not standing for this. And but it did make sense for Rogue, especially with her entire, love moment with Mr. Magnetism all season,
Miss Magnus.
Miss Magnus, which honestly, like, kudos to the creators for going there. That's like deep X-Men lore. So
Yeah.
Oh
I was
wow.
here for it.
So this actually happened in the comics.
Uh-huh.
Oh wow.
Mhm.
Yep.
I love it.
Oh yeah. In the
Yeah.
comics, so at the time, I think they were pulling back so many like OG outfits. During the 80s, Rogue has this like sort of green pantsuit situation, but she has also a short haircut that is kind of like teased in the front and kind of looks very helmety.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. I think I've seen
And
images
I
of
wanted
this.
them to bring that back. I want the slick back Rogue too, which is one streak of whites, like a stripe down the back of her head.
Like a skunk. Full skunk.
Yes, Skunk
Mhm.
Rogue.
Yeah.
Bring her back.
Everybody,
Bring her back.
the poll of the year. Do you want Rogue or Skunk Rogue? You
Skunk
decide.
Rogue. Always.
So I come up with this. So, I think that moment with Sunspot and Rogue going with Magneto, that's like the one thing that is the only fault I can give the show is like because it's only 30 minutes, they have to do these like really hard pivots to make things happen. It's like, we're against you. No, we're family. It's like, you were family an hour ago. Like
Right.
nothing really changed. Um, so we have our two teams. Where's Bastion? I forgot. I missed that. He's somewhere on an island.
Didn't Bastion just go with his mom, like go find his mother?
He did, but then he's on like this island thing when they go to find him. It's like a jungle-y
Yeah.
area.
And he's like
Oh,
hooked up to a
right.
bunch of extension cords and stuff. I think wherever he is, he's hooked up because he powers the Sentinels. Because they have a really like throwaway line where they're like, "How are these guys still operating if there's no power?" And
Yes.
then my guy Forge, my husband Forge,
You feel this way?
said, "I am so horny for Forge. I don't know what it is. I always have been. He has something about him. I think it's the short shorts,
Oh,
but
mm-hmm.
he is just him and Nightcrawler." Sorry, Twinkler. I don't know where that's coming from. That's not my vibe.
That is massive Twinkler. I love that.
Massive. They both have an energy about them where I'm like, they're for us. I don't know. I mean, Forge is my number one of the X-Men.
Yeah,
Ooh.
Forge is hot. Forge is very hot.
Forge, and a mustache. Ooh.
Oof. He always got the headband too.
That
He always has a
headband.
headband
Yes.
where you're just like,
and cut off shirts and like,
yeah.
And he can make you anything. Anything.
I mean, a dream. And he knows magic. The fuck? I mean,
He does know magic. Well, there's
Yeah.
that beat with Beast when he was like, "Oh, you're Lexor." He's like, "Oh yeah, I made this diffuser thing or whatever," and like Beast's like, "Oh, how'd you do that?" And he's just like, "I thought about it."
Yeah.
I thought about it. I was like, "Yeah, I should do this." Magneto might take the power out from the world. I should have a backup.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Beast. Beast is in this episode. We haven't talked much about Beast this season. But he's there. He comes up with this plan with the collar to collar Bastion. Good for you, Beast. And there's just like this weird moment where like they're about to go out and Beast is like holding hands with Trish Tilby. So question for the court: Beast and Trish. Is that a thing? The reporter?
Yeah,
Who
in
was
the
previously a Prime Sentinel and is now in a coma.
exactly. Right. And also when the Prime Sentinels are like not doing that, like when they're kind of like in rest mode or whatever, they look wild. I mean, they're just kind of like standing like mannequins throughout the street and stuff.
Yeah.
They do, I think, date in the comics. I think she's just a reporter in the comics, but I can't really remember those details.
Trish, not a fan.
Honestly, anything that's anything for Beast that's not Mystique, you know?
Mhm.
Like that whole X-Men First Class storyline really bothered me. So like I'm happy that Beast has his love, his moment, his thing. I do think that that was like nice though, because honestly, Beast didn't really get a moment this season. Like he just kind of
Yes.
was like there for answers. And
And I do want to say we are spoiler free. We're not going to spoil the last episode, but I would agree. I would agree.
yes.
Having seen it all, not much for the big blue. Big blue. One of the big
Mhm.
blues. Blue
One
balls
of
for
the big
Beast.
blues.
There's
A
so many
lot of
blue.
big blues.
A lot of big blues. A lot of big blues in this universe. Um. Okay. So we're on Muir Island, and we get this. Can either one of you? What is the significance of this costume change that everybody got? Like, I know I've seen these before, like in the X-Men video game, but like, is there any like, is it just like a different time that they like Cyclops wore like the scuba suit, as I like to call it, or um,
Yeah, it's like the 80s. It was like all their
Oh,
80s outfits.
a lot of yeah, and or either that or they went back to like their first introduction outfits.
Yeah.
So I think
Mhm.
it's just fan service. I think it's just like, hey fans, we're gonna bring in the stuff in the comics to that
yeah,
you love.
Hmm.
I absolutely love it. I adore it. They get this on Muir Island. Jean is now Marvel Girl in her Marvel Girl
Mm-hmm.
outfit. So they get these new costumes, including Cable gets a new outfit from Scott, and we get this line that's so fun. What were you expecting? Black leather. Great. My guests came for my man Scott Summers, and yet he had the sleigh upon all sleighs in the line delivery. Hmm. Crazy. I guess you shouldn't judge someone before they say a line.
Even that line, while it is a good line, because it was coming from Scott, I'm watching like, oh my god, okay, Scott,
Right.
go turn on the plane or whatever.
It's a Cyclops line. He said it in that
He
Cyclops.
said it in the original. He had the line in
Mhm.
the original movie that was the what were you expecting? Yellow spandex. So then for him to flip it and do that, I was like, "Oh, that is such fan service that like it really is like you have to know the X-Men and the
Mhm.
X-Men media in general to get that line. Otherwise, it's just like a silly little like why did they say black
Black
latex?
leather. Yeah.
That's kind of silly. Like,
Yeah. So Devin, sorry to go Scott for Scott, but that's how I feel.
Hey, I'm okay being wrong, but I'm not. I'm gonna stand on my truth.
And honestly, that's all I could fucking ask for anybody. Stand in your fucking truth. Even bigoted old President Kelly. I can't believe this bitch is the president. How who voted for this amphibian to go back to the movies? This like fucking frog face Kelly.
truly.
Ugh. He has a scene with Xavier just basically like, I hate you. I hate mutants.
Ugh.
Um, and then they're off to war in new costumes. Okay. Isaac Snyder and Devin Henderson. Everyone shut the fuck up. Okay. The team that's going after Bastion, the Sentinels are coming after them, and Gina's like, "Oh my god, I'm so fucking scared. I can't do this." And Storm's like, "Bitch, shut the fuck up." What this line? Can we do? Do you guys know the line I'm talking about? Can you reenact it for
Mhm.
me? Okay.
Yeah. Which of us should be Storm?
Okay. I will put in the chat. We're gonna do a little play.
Make them mind your weather, sister.
And them weather your mind.
Get the what the fuck?
Round of applause, standing ovation.
I like did a lap around my house. I loved it.
And this is humiliating. I can't believe I'm going to put this on the internet. I fully cried. I was like, I was
100%.
like, these are our girl. This is who we want. Oh,
Absolutely. It truly was like the best Marvel writing that I've experienced since that line from WandaVision. The which famously I cannot remember right now, but I know there's a line from WandaVision.
oh,
The
love.
grief.
Yes.
Yes. What is love
Grief.
if not grief persevering? That's
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
I love that was a great tag team for me and Devin. Devin was like love, and I said grief, and you got it.
I'll be persevering.
but Isaac, you're so right, because those lines are hard to do. They're hard to write in a way that doesn't feel corny and like, but feels authentic. And then this, I know that they've had some problems with the showrunner, but very, very, very good at this. I mean, like, it was so good.
Hit the nail on the head with that line, truly. And it was just wordplay, which for whatever reason, this entire series has so much wordplay in it. Like
So much.
There's a line that I think might happen later in this episode with the Magneto and metal. And he says, like, you're gonna meddle with this or something like that. And you're like, oh, does he mean metal like metal that he can control, or does he mean metal like he's meddling with something?
Yeah.
It was just it was very, very brilliant. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the writer, why he was fired, but like he was cooking in that kitchen. He was definitely cooking.
He's cooking something good. And
He's cooking something good.
And I'll say this, season 2, I am worried. I'm worried.
I think season 2 might be complete and they're doing the animation. I don't know. But season 3, it will definitely be a new showrunner unless they bring him back. I mean,
interesting. Okay.
I think that could be lie. I don't know.
We'll see that. We'll see what happens. But love this moment. Yeah, I love this like a little bit of a retcon saying that Storm and Jean are best friends, and like I really felt it here. Because I don't think the women talked much to each other in the original series. If I could put that out there. But they're gearing up for battle. They're gearing up for a fight. They're gearing up for possibly the end of the world. And this podcast is gearing up for a break. Podcast 616 is going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk all about them, the scenes, the action scenes. I fucking love Jean pummeling you know who with bowling balls. But we'll get to all that. And so much more. Keep it right here to Podcast 616. The girls will be right back. Gentlemen across the nation, I have an urgent message for you. This episode of Podcast 616 is brought to you by Manscaped. The brand that took your balls to space is now launching them into the Ultra Sphere, introducing the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Featuring a new cutting-edge design and next-generation dual skin-safe blade heads for different shaves, it's pretty much a spaceship to take your boys downstairs to the next level. Join the 9 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with a brand new The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the promo code PRESSPLAY. That is 20% off plus free shipping with the code PRESSPLAY at manscaped.com. Your balls have been through enough. It's time to go Ultra with Manscaped.
Hey everyone, this is Don Mike Mendoza, the host of Producing While Asian. Join us in Season 2 for more conversations with actors, artists, producers, and more from Broadway, Hollywood, and beyond, every other Wednesday on the Press Play Podcast Network.
And we're back. He screamed, we're back. My first note just says Cable looks good in his X-Men outfit, and I just think Cable looks good. Cable looks great. I think he doesn't
Was
need
Cable voiced by the same guy who played him in? No, he wasn't.
No, but it sounded like him. It
really
sounds like
did.
Josh Brolin. Yeah.
Yes, Josh Brolin. That's it. It really sounded like Josh Brolin. His character. I was really, I was impressed.
I thought, especially we got Theo James to play Bastion. I was like, maybe we're like also getting Josh Brolin. Like we're getting some like A- level actors. I'll give Theo James an A-. Because like he did White Lotus, but he also did Divergent. So
Yeah.
Oh, so one's the A and one's the minus.
You decide. Guess what?
What's the
A?
Oh my god, yeah, this is the second podcast we've mentioned Divergent, so maybe I love Divergent, who knows.
Maybe Divergent's the A. Ooh.
Can I ask a question in general?
Yes.
How do you both feel about Cable and like sort of the time travel-y stuff?
This is the first time I've ever been interested in Cable because I remember him from the original series, and he just was so boy to me. Like
Hmm.
these are for boys who like Nerf guns. Because also like
Yeah.
until this episode, I had never seen him exhibit any mutant powers. It was always just pew 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 with his little fucking 80s mega guns.
I
Mhm.
know that's exactly how I felt about Cable and Bishop. I feel like they are both
Hmm.
very much like military boy injected into the show. And I'm always like, why are they here? They
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
guns.
Hmm.
They kind of, I mean, the whole thing that I do love about Cable is like, and Bishop as well, honestly, is like they're men that are lost in time, and that makes sense for the aspect of like the X-Men keep them around, or like they're with the X-Men because it's a constant reminder of the possibility of what could happen, which
Yeah.
like that in among itself is very scary because the futures that they come from, are very, very dystopian, very dark, very sad.
Hmm.
So it's like kind of nice to see them there because then you have this whole story of like, wow, they're creating these memories in this time that is technically not their time, but like they're actually getting to experience like all these great things about the X-Men. And for those reasons, I do have like a little bit of a soft spot for the two characters. But yeah, Nerf Gun Boy is like
Hmm.
1000% down boots. Like that's what they are.
Yeah. And also being lost in time, that so rings true with how I experience them too, because they do feel like people who just showed up at your doorstep for dinner, and you're like, oh, now for me, I'm like, now we got to pull up chairs and listen to their stories. Oh my god, we were all
Right.
gonna do something.
Set a
Um,
plate for Bishop. Uh, I do like that. That does make me that does endear them to me a little bit. But also I think the X-Men mess with time far too much.
yeah, it's a little much.
No spoilers for
Mhm.
the next episode, but just too much. Stop it. Stay stay in your time. Um, someone who does a great job staying in their time. Morph. I love this moment where Morph morphs into the Hulk and Jean just like shoots them around like a giant pinball against the Sentinels. I thought that was great. How are we liking Morph? Not really much like Beast, not much to do this season.
No, but they are like I mean, I'm happy to see them back in the show. I think that's really
Yeah.
cool. I think that it's really cool that they did grab kind of a mutant character of the X-Men that is like a very like borderline, I would say like C ranking X-Men character.
Uh-huh.
Which I think is really good because the entire team is made up of like A tier X-Men characters. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's nice to have some characters that are kind of a little bit like just there for the mythos of the X-Men, not so much like the wow factor of them being there, but it's like, wow, this is a very large world that we're dealing with.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also really despised Morph in the original. I remember being like, I don't know this guy. Why is he here? Or why are they here? And then now seeing them come back, they are. I do love Morph in this series. They've really redeemed him. They're very funny. I love that they're able to bring in and highlight other characters throughout the Marvel universe that we don't really need to spend an episode on.
Hmm.
And I love that they're kind of horny for Wolverine.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for saying that. Let's go back. Remember that moment when Morph morphed into Sabretooth and then Sabretooth and Wolverine just kind of rolled around? Why did they do that?
Because inherently Wolverine is a bottom.
And we finally said it.
Someone was brave enough to say it.
I'll say it. Wolverine is a gay icon. And here's the thing, there are a lot of men out there in the world that are running around with their little Wolverine tattoos. And they're like, oh, this is the epitome of man. And I'm like, no, 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 no. That's a bossy bottom with claws that come out of his hands.
Hercules and Wolverine dynamics in an alternate universe.
Wait, say that one more time. You cut
So
out.
Isaac.
You cut out on the word. What was the word? They what? In an alternate universe?
They date.
Oh my God.
They date in another universe. Oh my god, my internet connection is all of a sudden horrible for the worst part. But they date Hercules, Greek god, and Wolverine.
Wow. I'm glad you were able to get that out there because your homophobic internet was like, oh no, we can't let you say this. Good God. We get some wonderful action from, other X-Men. Beast does his classic, oh, what's the sound of one hand clapping? And he like rips off the arm of a Sentinel and smacks it in the face. Very, I'm Rick James, bitch, that Chappelle sketch. Okay. Isaac Snyder. Question for the court. Mr. Sinister.
Would. That's my answer. Would.
That was not the question. I was like, is this but on that road am I looking at a queer villain? Is this a gay villain, Mr. Sinister?
100%. Yeah, okay. Absolutely. Mr. Sinister. I mean, even in like the newest X-Men age in the comics, the Krakoan age, Sinister is an inherently queer character who like is very much all about like vanity and vain and like being this kind of like bimbo kind of a sort of vibe character, which personally, I mean, I think that we need more bimbo villains. But it
claps.
Yeah, 100%. I love Mr. Sinister. Like very scary, but also very inherently queer character.
Thank you. Just wanted to clear that up. So he's like stalking Jean, mocking. He's like, hey bitch, remember when I cloned your ass? You were so fucking stupid. You don't even know when I switched you out. Just clowning Marvel Girl for filth. Devin Henderson, you famously like to throw bowling balls at your enemies. What do you think of Jean's technique in these bowling ball throwings?
I mean, the true queen, the absolute queen. I mean, if we ever watch Mystery Men, we know that Janine Garofalo did it first. However,
thank you so much. Thank you for bringing up that movie. Thank you.
What a good movie.
Wow. Oh, she's the bowler, right?
She's
100%.
The bowler, and her dad's skull is in her bowling ball.
Yes.
So she did it first, but Marvel Girl does it best. Also, for some reason, looks so cute. It's like a bunch of different colored bowling balls. Bowling balls are inherently cute.
Yeah.
I sometimes have been referred to as the bowling ball of Boys Town because I'm short, I'm round, and I'm always in a bright color.
And you also roll down the streets.
Yes. I have a half a martini, and then everybody takes turns pushing me down the street.
Damn. Okay, Devin, you're putting a lot out into the internet today. I hope you're
let it stick forever.
You heard it here first, folks. We love to see it. But oh no, Mr. Sinister, he's got one last trick. He's like, oh, did you think I didn't brainwash your baby? Do you think I wouldn't brainwash this child to be on my side? Much like Beyonce, Cable puts up the diamond sign on his forehead, the rock, and he becomes a foot soldier for Mr. Sinister. Yeah, I just compared Cable is Beyonce and Mr. Sinister is Jay-Z.
You just made it an Illuminati reference so casually.
That's what we do here, Isaac. Welcome to the conversation.
Happy to be here.
And then Cable, wait, back to Cable. How can Cable do this? Cable can do psychic blasts.
Yeah,
I don't
know. Right? I don't know why he doesn't do it more. That's what I'm saying with Cable and Bishop. They're always like using guns, which are so boring to me.
But Jean is like, I'm fucked. I got a link to Scott, who no one likes, but that's her husband. Sorry, she loves her husband.
I mean, does she? Like, there were moments this season where I was like, I don't think you two like each other.
It's
Yeah.
they're healing. They're healing.
They
They're
are
growing.
healing.
And she's like, babe, it's not going well here. Meanwhile, on asteroid M, up in space, what have we got? We got Rogue versus Wolverine. We've got Sunspot versus Jubilee in a. I'm just gonna say this: Jubilee versus Sunspot. It looked like two babies fighting to me. Like he doesn't know how to use her. He doesn't know how to use his powers, and she has a really weak power. And it's like it felt like watching a fighting game on easy.
Well, like you never want to be like surprised by the powers that you have. And like sometimes that was just like the vibe all the time with them was it's
Mhm.
very much like, oh, like I didn't know I could do that.
Yeah.
And like
Oh.
wow, like and that's always that's just kind of silly to me because it's like, oh, you have these two like very juvenile like children.
Hmm. So Professor X, do you ever like storm your ex's house and it's like, hey, turn the power back on? uh,
Famously, I have done that once, yes.
ugh, it was. I assume it was 2015. Just feels like that was the year we were all out of our minds.
Just messy.
Just messy. Obama's second term. Anyway, Professor X is like, Magneto, stop it. Do what I say. Devin, to your earlier point, how did you feel about the I have two words for you moment when Magneto.
Oh, fully justified. And then I know we chat on them earlier. I'm leaving with Magneto. I mean, yes and no. I mean, I'm like not all into his whole like genocide situation, but like for a long time we've been following Professor Xavier and we keep getting our asses handed to us by robots. So like at some point we gotta listen to somebody else, or we at
Mhm.
least have to hear some other ideas.
Yeah.
And Professor Xavier will not shut up. For somebody who can know anything about anybody at any given time, boy oh boy, does he like never stop talking about himself or like his ideas or whatever. So I'm like, shut
Oh, yeah.
up, Professor Xavier.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He asks a lot of questions for someone that definitely already knows the answer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Fucking nerds. Oh, shut up.
There's this really sweet moment, like sweet as in badass, where like they're about to do it. They get the helmet off of Magneto, and Professor X is gonna like control him. And Scott's like, pew, and shoots him away. It's like, actually, my wife is still working on something. She might be dead, but I'm not accepting that because I don't accept things that I don't want to happen. And I guess that's what we don't like. We don't like that. We don't like commitment. Interesting.
I wish you knew how true that statement was of how the amount of times my husband and I fight because I'm like, you need to accept the things that you wish were not true.
Mhm.
And that is Scott. Scott refuses to accept anything, even if it destroys his whole family and he has to send his baby into the future.
And he's done all that.
That is true. Well, Scott's also just this character who's never going to be satisfied with an ending, like ever. It's never going to be satisfied. Nothing is going to be good. And that's why it's like so sad in the very first episode of this series when Jean Grey, well, technically not Jean Grey.
I know.
Technically.
No pony.
No pony, but was like, what about a life besides the X-Men? And even Scott then was just like, no, you're crazy, lady. Like, it's not happening.
Well, that was in the scene we were talking about when you guys were bullying my boy. Like Professor X was saying to Scott of like, oh, he was like, I realized that like I never wanted you to do this. What was it? It was like I wanted you to be the leader that would usher in this new world, but I never thought that maybe you would never get to live in it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you enlist child soldiers. Okay, so Magneto.
For real.
Oh yeah.
Like, what else did he think was going to happen? Like Xavier, he's like, first of all, I leave you because like I'm dying and my space girlfriend has to cure me with one of their future machines. And then actually my whole plan was to like kind of cause this huge fight on Earth between mutants and humans, and then kind of like assume it's going to work out and you're going to be able to go have a baby. Like,
Yeah.
lies.
Yeah.
He was like, what if it is like, what if I died? Then it would be fine. Which is like such hubris of like, it's me. I'm the problem, it's me. What if I just step away? Then you'll all be better. So this is my thesis that Professor X is Taylor Swift. And look what happens. We get some action from Wolverine. He had some good slices in the last episode. And by action, I mean he stabs Magneto through the chest, through the heart. That was upsetting.
Crazy amount of blood for a Disney Plus show.
Yeah.
Like, really, I mean, when you saw the claws go through and there was blood on the other end, I was like, this is not the Fox Television Kids X-Men that I remember with some reruns. Like, okay, this is like bordering Attack on Titan. Like, let's go.
And Magneto was more mad than when, oh my God, this is pandering, but we're here. It felt like that moment in Drag Race when Valencia had the mask on for the lip sync and RuPaul was like, take that off your mouth.
Yes. I'd like to keep it on, please.
Magneto is RuPaul and Wolverine is Valencia.
Valentina. I'm so sorry. I didn't need to correct you, but for the viewers listening.
No, I'm glad you did. I'm glad. I would want to know why I'm going to get murdered.
You just might get bullied. Valentina's fans are really wild.
They really are.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's no crossover between them and this.
Drag Race and the X-Men?
Couldn't be.
Dax exclamation point.
It's a complete actually Venn diagram. It's a perfect circle.
Don't do that motion with your hands. Stop doing that motion with your hands.
Do you not like this motion? What motion?
No, it's when you take one and then it comes together.
Yeah, I know what you're doing.
I'm sorry. I'm gesturing.
Girl,
Horton hears a who right now. What are you talking about? Like,
you're the classic hand symbol for Horton hears who. Well, you know what? Magneto rips the fucking adamantium out of Wolverine. How about that?
Yeah.
How about that?
That is wild. That is severe.
That is severe.
Do you ever have like a couple of like friends that are a couple that are kind of fighting in front of you, but it's kind of normal for a moment, and then all of a sudden one of them says something very personal and not for other people to hear, and it changes the temperature of the room? That's like, this is the violent version of that, where you're like, we were kind of just like play fighting. And now you've separated a part of myself from me.
We were just playing pretend. And then all of a sudden, one of us has to go to the hospital with 17 stitches. Like,
at least.
What happened?
And Magneto, she said, the feud is over. But I'm here to tell you, this podcast is not over, because we have to do one more thing. Y'all, it is time for Fuck, Marry, Kill. And I saved something special for my sisters. So as listeners of this podcast know, once a character is used in Fuck, Marry, Kill in X-Men 97, we cannot reuse them for the whole season. And so I've been saving these. I've been storing them away because they're good options. We don't have to do like what we did last week and talk about Bastion's mom. So on the docket today, I call them the rest. You got Beast, you got Morph, and Wolverine. I've saved these three for this episode. Feel free to examine all they've done, because even in this episode there wasn't much. But those are your options. I will go first to give my guests time to think. Once again, Beast, Morph, Wolverine. I think I'm gonna kill Beast. My kill is between Beast and Morph, but I'm gonna kill Beast because I think Morph gives me a bit more options. Beast, too blue. I can only imagine the fur that would be left over in my bed every morning. Couldn't do that. Also, I know he's not, but because of the movies, he just gives Frasier to me, and I can't. Even though I love Frasier and I've seen every episode, including the reboot, I always would kill Frasier. So we're gonna kill Beast. I'm going to fuck Morph, because they could be whoever I want them to be in one night. We could be anybody.
Slut.
Me or her.
Whoever you think I'm talking about. No.
If the shoe fits, I wear it. Morph could turn into who's that man who I'm dreaming about at night? Glenn Powell. Um, Andrew, what's his name? Oh my God. Why can't I think of the actor's name? All of Us Strangers, Ripley, Moriarty on Sherlock. Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh, you don't know this name? Oh, this is so
I
embarrassing.
don't even know any of the projects you just listed.
You've never
What were the
All of Us Strangers?
Paul? Oh no, Andrew Scott.
Thank you very much. Bad gays. Bad gays. Watch the sad gay movies. For the
Yeah.
All of the Strangers sounds like a book that would be recommended Witherspoon's book club.
100%.
Yes. Yes. Big Little Lies, All of Us Strangers. All of Us Big Little
To me,
Strangers.
that's what it's been. That's what it's been so far in my brain.
So more for that reason, because he could be anything, any book title we want. And then I would marry Wolverine because iconic.
Yeah.
He would be truly a trophy husband. Like, look what I got. Thank you. I think we'll have our most seniored guest go next. Isaac Snyder.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Please.
Thank you. Oh my God. So I definitely this one's hard. And there's actually like a lot of thought that's going into this one, which typically for fuck, marry, kill, admittedly, there's not a ton of thought that goes into it for me usually, but if I'm playing it in any capacity. But for me, I would marry Beast. And I would marry Beast because one, he's definitely smarter than me. And I love that in a husband. I also know that like any sort of issue that I had, like he'd be like, "Don't worry, babe. Like I made a machine for it." And I'd be like, purr." And then like it'd be really sweet just to like love him and like pet him and like, just kind of like scratch his ears a little bit. Just be like, hey cutie.
True.
So I do like that in husband material. Fuck. I would fuck Wolverine. I would unfortunately not marry Wolverine because I do think that he suffers from smelly ball syndrome on like a daily basis. And I don't know if I could deal with that. But he does look like his balls smell. So gonna have to just do a one night stand with good old Wolvie, Logan. And then I think that would leave me to kill Morph.
Unreal.
Which is really sad, I know, but
the only queer character on this season
that we know of.
Sorry to put you out. Sorry to call you out like that. My bad. That's more of a knee-jerk reaction.
I think like with Morph, the reason why I wasn't like fully drawn to Morph in like a sexual manner or in like a marriage manner is because it's too many options. And I don't want to have too many options because then I feel like I eventually would get to this point where like nothing would satisfy me. So
Wow.
I think that because of that, Morph would have to, I don't know, get pushed off a ledge.
That would work.
It would work, right?
Unless they turn into a bird. Or
unless they turned into a bird or unless they turned into Angel again and just flew out of there.
Morph's pretty hard to kill.
Morph is hard to kill, right?
Thank you, Isaac Snyder. Wonderful picks, wonderful reasons. Devin, Henderson, ending with you, please.
Okay, so I am going to kill Beast as well. I wish I had a good reason, but it's mostly just kind of like, you gotta go. I'm gonna fuck Wolverine too. I agree, Isaac, with your diagnosis. And I would imagine, and in my brain, I think smelly balls also equals smelly feet. They just seem to be connected spiritually somehow. And, but it was a toss up because, so I guess I'm going to marry Morph. One, they are very funny and very witty. They don't take themselves too seriously. And they will I will require that they kind of look like whoever they want to look like, because in their natural form, they look too similar to me. But if we ever needed boyfriend twin status, then they could just look as themselves. I mean, you're laughing because it is true. Now come on now. If I shaved my eyebrows off, I would look a lot like Morph.
You have eyes. You have pupils.
Okay, the one thing. What?
Does Morph have a nose?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if Morph has a nose.
But yeah, so while I hated Morph when I first met them, they are now. I'm gonna marry them.
Wow, and
Power.
That's power.
And also, how funny would it be to get a little high on the couch and then just be like, okay, now do Barbara Walters, and they could turn do Barbara Walters reading like a drug commercial ad or something like that. That would be endless entertainment.
That is funny. It's like your own in-home SNL every day.
Yes.
Special guest.
It would be funny. It would be funny. I didn't think about those possibilities. That's actually really smart.
That can get you through a pandemic. That's endlessly entertaining.
Truly.
Okay.
Jeff Goldblum ordering Chipotle. Just like endless material.
I'll have a bowl. That's my
that was good.
Thank you.
A bowl.
Yeah, he has.
All right. A slam dunk of a fuck, marry, kill if I've ever seen one. Thank you both so much. Oh my gosh, one episode left. I wonder what's gonna happen. JK, we shush. But I wonder.
Uh-huh.
But I wonder. Isaac Snyder. Where can people find you on the interwebs? What do you want people to know about? Just talk to us, please.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Instagram at Ike D. Snyder. You can find me on Twitter at Isaac D. Snyder. And then you can find me on TikTok at Ike D. Sny.
Oh,
yeah.
Sure girl can do all three. I love it.
Mhm.
Devin Henderson, same question.
Okay. You can find me on Instagram at Heaven Henderson. It will be a disappointing experience. I am one of those annoying people who doesn't get into social media. But if you're in Chicago, you can follow me, and we do a bunch of shows around town. So that'll be interesting, at least.
I can't imagine it wouldn't be. Thank you all so much. You can follow this podcast on Instagram and TikTok at podcast616p3. That P3 stands for Press Play Podcast, the podcasting network that lets me talk about Jeff Goldblum ordering at Chipotle any day I want. Thank you both so much for doing this podcast. Thank you to producer Michael, who couldn't be with us this week. I'm sure he would give this episode an A++. And we'll be back next week to talk about the season finale of season 1 of X-Men 97. What else are you going to do? What else are you going to do? Listen to it. Leave a review. Thank you so much. So until that time, please remember that with great power comes even greater responsibility.